President-elect Donald Trump vowing to repay Gen Z after they showed up at the ballot box to help him get to the White House.
The deadline for TikTok's Chinese parent company ByteDance to sell the social media app was Sunday.
And as the ban went into effect, however, Trump took to Truth Social and wrote, "I'm asking companies not to let TikTok stay dark. I will issue an executive order on Monday to extend the period of time before the law's prohibitions take effect so that we can make a deal to protect our national security. The order will also confirm that there will be no liability for any company that helped keep TikTok from going dark before my order." Trump said he wanted the U.S. to have a 50% ownership of the app in order to save it. Now, TikTok actually restored its service on Sunday after Trump's announcement.
Some in the GOP, however, are doubling down on their hardline stance against TikTok. Senator Tom Cotton wrote on X this weekend, "Any company that hosts, distributes, services, or otherwise facilitates communist-controlled TikTok could face hundreds of billions of dollars of ruinous liability under the law, not just from DOJ, but also under securities law, shareholder lawsuits, and state AGs. Think about it."
It's a not-so-veiled threat. According to the TikTok ban's law, it would allow the president to grant a one-time extension of not more than 90 days to prolong the ban from going into effect.
The law requires that there be evidence that there has been significant progress made on a divestment, but ByteDance has rejected would-be buyers so far. Moreover, constitutional lawyers are saying Trump's move is not lawful. Former U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Michigan, Barbara McQuaid, wrote on Blue Sky, quote, "An executive order cannot supersede a statute. Congress has found ByteDance a danger to national security, and SCOTUS, the Supreme Court, has upheld it. Trump's job, as of noon tomorrow, which is now today, is to take care that the laws be faithfully executed. That means enforcing the ban until ByteDance sells TikTok."
Tech mogul Elon Musk wrote on X, "I have been against the TikTok ban for a long time because it goes against freedom of speech. That said, the current situation where TikTok is allowed to operate in America, but X is not allowed to operate in China, is unbalanced and something needs to change." So this is a fascinating subject where you've had a number of political scramblings taking place. There are people on both the Democratic side for and against this ban. There are people on the Republican side for and against it. Trump was for it, then changed his mind. Biden actually implemented the ban, then changed his mind even as the Supreme Court said, yeah, you can do the ban. Biden, but wasn't clear what was going to happen, so they still did take down TikTok. And the message, when you went to TikTok while it was dark for that brief period over the weekend, said, stay tuned, we're working with President Trump to bring back TikTok. And then when it came back after Trump said, no, look, really nothing is going to happen if you take it out of the app stores, a thank you message for the millions of people who use this platform to engage in communication, free expression, for business, monetary reasons. A lot of content creators, small businesses, it's a very indispensable platform for their livelihood. That is not, and I am not dismissing the national security implications entirely. I understand, I am clear-eyed about the threat of the Chinese Communist Party, but the bar has to be so high, in my view, to take action that violates free speech for national security reasons. Time and time again, we have come to regret what we've done in Patriot Act terms to violate our own civil liberties for some unspecified foreign threat. I thought this was going to be another one of these cases. Now, I hope a deal can be arrived at. I certainly don't like, an look, I agree with the legal analysis that an executive order is not, is far less than ideal here. It kind of calls to mind the Andrew Jackson, the Supreme Court has made their decision, now let them enforce it. Right. But that was about, kicking Native Americans. The Supreme Court said, don't kick Native Americans off their land, and Jackson said, I'm going to do it anyway. This is almost the inverse of where the Supreme Court says, well, you can do this. You voted to do this, you the government, and you can do it. Yep. And now the government's saying, we don't want to.
So there are large parts of what you just said that I agree with. I think it is a fascinating topic because it crosses party lines and mixes up those lines in an interesting way. And I agree with you that the national security bar has to be very high. And there are certainly people on the left in particular who are worried that there's a kind of a Red Scare type vibe going on here. Now, I think where we differ is well, you said you do, to be fair, have concerns about this idea that a president by executive order can just decide not to, he can essentially decide to change the law. I mean, it's an interesting debate to have, because I think you and I both fall against banning it. But the law was passed by Congress. It has been upheld, or at least not struck down, by the Supreme Court. It is a valid law. And so setting the precedent that a commander-in-chief can just say, yeah, I know that's the law, but I'll just change it because I want to, that seems dangerous to me, no?
I don't disagree with that. There's nothing wrong with that. It is weird, because even some of the people who supported this law are now expressing mixed feelings. Chuck Schumer has said, you know, maybe we could take a beat and think this through and see if we can still work something out. I know that what the law says on paper and they voted for it, but even the people who voted for it now seem to think we should wait. I know that doesn't change the legal calculus.
That's the thing.
To admit this is a weird situation.
But it is
where nobody really wants to do this anymore, even though they did. I don't know. It's weird.
It is a weird situation for sure. But like, if people like Chuck Schumer or whomever voted for the ban and now think they were wrong, well, then they have to pass a new law. Then it's up to Congress.
Ideally, they should do that. You know, first thing tomorrow. They really should. I would like to see that. Yes. Do I think, what is it? Fiat justitia, let the justice be done, though the heavens may fall, even if that results in 170 million people losing access to a free speech, having, in my view, their First Amendment rights violated. Do I think that should happen anyway because the law is the law? I don't know, man. That starts to get into a philosophical disagreement where I frankly, I don't know where to come down on that.
No, but it does. But I mean, I think that in relation to this particular president, it is a setting of a precedent for the incoming president that I think a lot of people will have concerns about, because of the capacity that he may have to just defy the law by virtue of executive order.
Either.
I mean, that's always the point. Like, a president shouldn't have the power to just go, oh, well, that's the law, but too bad.
Right, and I mean, this is a tension even in our founding. The Congress makes the law and the president carries it out, but. And you and I probably agree that the executive branch has, I would argue, I think you would argue this too, in some context at least, I think the executive branch has gobbled up too much authority and power for itself. You know, in our founders' framing, it was really, Congress was the main branch of government. The president was just carrying out their wishes. But over time, it's become the president is by far the dominant, even legislating body through both their influence over what actually happens in Congress, through the massive federal agencies and bureaucracies that are staffed by people appointed by the president. There's a lot of, in my view, too much rulemaking outsourced to the actual agencies to determine what they're going to do. I mean, there's so many laws on the book. It's impossible not to have some level of discretion about what you're going to actually focus on, what you're going to prosecute, what you're going to, I mean, just because there's so much to do.
But isn't the logic of your position, which I do broadly agree with, that actually one should curb the president's power or bring it more in line with those constitutional intentions, rather than saying, well, I don't want TikTok banned either, so hey, that's great.
Yeah, I agree with that. We should try to give more power back to Congress to do legislating and rulemaking, in my view, rather than the presidency. That's what our founders intended. We're very far from that. So we'll have to see now. And again, in this whole TikTok debate, the fact remains that it is not clear the Chinese are interested in having this sold in any form.
Right.
But now Trump has a pretty good relationship with the TikTok CEO. I don't even know what power he has to enact this kind of thing, because if the Chinese government says no, maybe it's just no. But we'll have to see. I think it would be ideal for TikTok to be preserved, maybe have some reforms that satisfy the not illegitimate, but I just haven't been able to parse them because they're secret, national security interests, and I that would be best, and we'll see if that can take place.
It's a moment of agreement on rising. There we go.
Next up on our show, we're going to discuss the latest buzz around Doge. Stay tuned.